New. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We'll get started in just a second. All right, welcome everybody. Let's get started. Just so everybody knows, this meeting is being recorded. My name is Larry Law. I'm the Executive Director of the Great Lakes Independent Booksellers Association. I'm joined today by the Director of Marketing and Promotion for RAMP, Suzanne Shoger, and Kathy Lund of Postal Solutions at Quad Printing, and as well as my fellow regional directors. Quickly want to thank everybody, all of our bookstores and publishing partners for joining us today. As for GLIBA and my fellow regionals, the winter catalog is our #1 revenue generator for the year. We're all nonprofits, so all the money we make from the catalog annually goes back into our programming and education. So the catalog is hugely important to us. And for many of our stores, the winter catalog is vital to their fourth quarter. So, with today, we are committed to evolving and adding features to our catalog to help better suit our stores. And to that end, last year, for the first time, we added saturation and direct mailing the component to our catalogs. Many stores had great success with that, so we wanted to continue it this year. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. Hopefully, we'll present you with some good reminders today and maybe some new information about marketing for the fourth quarter. It's hard to believe we're already thinking about that. In terms of our topics for today, I will briefly give you an overview of the entire winter catalog program, which includes winter emails this year. But then we're really going to spend most of our time hearing from my colleague Kathy at Quad about direct mail, saturation mail, etc. And then we will have time for questions at the end. If anyone would like to contact me, my email address is on the screen. And I also have a colleague with me today too. Her name is Ashley Young, and she is available for support relative to all of your bookstore catalog order questions. In 2020, this is what our distribution looked like. And the reason I'm showing you this today is 2021 will likely follow a similar path. So if you take a look at all the little images around this circle, these are the various ways that we distributed the 2020 print catalog and digital catalog. So we had a total of 10 million versions of our catalogs distributed in 2020 across the RAMP associations. So across NAIBA, GLIBA, NEIBA, MIBA, and SIBA. We had 740,000 catalogs go out, print pieces go out to consumer mailboxes via direct mail. And most of that was saturation mail where zip codes and carrier routes were targeted. So that's what Kathy will really be focusing on today, if you'd like information about joining that program. It was new to the larger RAMP association last year and was wildly successful. We also had an additional 725,000 catalogs inserted in local newspapers. So that's another option for distribution of your catalog. We had 535,000 catalogs distributed in stores and through stores at curbside pickup, with order, fulfillment, in-store display, interaction, etc. And then we had 3,500,000 versions of our catalog go out to consumers via email, and another 4.5 million go out to people through social media channels such as Instagram and Facebook. So this year we will be offering all of these opportunities along with in-store point of purchase materials, display materials, and so forth but this is kind of what the overall holistic view of our catalog distribution looks like. And one of the things that we're highlighting this year, in addition to direct mail, is our new email program. We launched it for the summer and we've had good success with it and are looking to grow the program in the winter. So if you are ordering the winter catalog, you can also take advantage of the winter emails, basically by clicking a box on our order form. In terms of the timeline for the catalog orders and email and so forth, the most important thing you need to know is July 31st, so 3 weeks from now, final bookstore orders are due, catalog orders. And the reason we start so early is, number one, we want to have time to work with you to get distribution routes set up if you're interested in saturation mail. We also want to provide time to set up custom imprints so that you can have your store logo and name and information on the front and back of the print pieces. This year we're adding the email piece, so we need some time to get that set up. And then we also have to place our paper order in August. And so that's really the main driver behind our deadline. So it's critical that we have your final order by July 31st. And as you can see, there's an asterisk next to July 31st. If you are a store who may be interested in direct mail of some sort, we need you to start your order at rampbooks.com by July 15th. And Kathy will talk more about that, but you and Ashley will need to have some time to go back and forth, selecting zip codes and carrier routes and so forth. So if you are interested in direct mail, please start your order online at rampbooks.com by July 15th so that it's finished by July 31st. And then you can see our very first winter email will be sent October 19th, which is before the print catalog shows up. But we wanted to have an earlier window of advertising since I think last year we had the October is the new December campaign for shopping early. So our first winter email, which will feature a fourth of your catalog titles, will go out October 19th. The catalogs will actually physically arrive in stores, at newspapers, in people's mailboxes right around November 1st. And then we have 3 more emails, each containing a quarter of the winter catalog titles going out in November. So that's our time frame. July 31st is what you need to focus on. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy, who will talk about direct mail.
Thanks, Suzanne. Happy to be back with everyone and those of you that are new this year. And really looking forward to working with you on another successful year of your direct mail program. So I am going to share my screen and hopefully confirm that everyone can see it. Oops. So can everybody see my screen? Oops. Is everybody there? Or did I lose you guys?
I think we're still here, but we're only seeing you.
Okay, let me try that again.
That looks better.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Okay. So this may be some similar information if you, as we went through last year, but what I want to go through with you today is a little bit more of an understanding of what is direct mail, the importance of a direct mail program, and then kind of from there, the type of direct mail, which we're focusing on, which is saturation. How you can actually target some of your customers with this type of program and why we choose to do a saturation mail program, the benefits of it. And then what are your options as a store owner for the direct mail program? So really, direct mail is any physical correspondence, the term, you know, when it's going through the postal service and ending up in your mailbox, right? Postcard, flyers, catalogs, it's just a common term in the industry, so you'll hear that word, but basically it's any physical correspondence that you are mailing to potential consumers or prospects. Just a little information about direct mail. I think in the age now, everybody believes that online is the way to go, and print, sometimes you hear print is dead, and that's really not the case. Yes, things have changed over the years, and online definitely has its focus and an importance, but it's really about a multi-channel approach, which includes a combination of different media, so a print and an online presence. And consumers really do respond to direct mail, and a lot of times that print direct mail or that print piece will create an action of an online presence. So we find that 64% of adults do read direct mail for retailers, and about 44% do read print catalogs. A lot of clients, and 1 out of 3 will visit a web due to receiving a direct mail piece. And another reason that direct mail works is it drives consumers to a retail store. So it creates walk-in traffic. And catalogs tend to be one of the most popular types of direct mail in that format. And when you start looking at the different age groups or the different demographics, seniors do tend to prefer booklets, about 14%, versus just a type of postcard. But baby boomers prefer, different type of folded self mailer, not a full catalog versus a postcard. So just a few fun facts about direct mail. So we're talking a lot about saturation mail, and it is, as I mentioned, it's a form of direct mailing. And it's really a type of direct mail that allows a mailer to saturate a particular area. This can be a radius around your business. It can be based on specific city, county, or even neighborhoods, actually even down to a zip code and a carrier route. And I may be using some terms that you're not familiar with, so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper, and you'll probably end up knowing more about mail than you ever really wanted to, or the USPS. But the goal of saturation is really to allow you to reach as many or the majority of households around your particular business or within a specific area at the lowest cost. And that's one of the reasons we choose the saturation mail program. So again, kind of talking to it, why use saturation? For local businesses, it's a way to establish brand, create a walk-in traffic, and deliver targeted offers to clients near your location. It's great for grand opening events or if you're having other special events. It's also a way to connect you with your customers or prospects, again, located near you that may not receiving communication from you. So it's a way to hopefully get them to do business with you. The other benefit of saturation that I mentioned, it's the lowest cost to mail. And that's because from a postal perspective, it's the least amount of work or handling from the post office. So they in turn provide the lowest postal costs and create that savings for you. So we'll talk about the cost of postal and why that's important a little bit later in the presentation. So this is where I'm going to get probably a little granular, but it's, I think, important for you to know because it does come into play when you are looking at who to mail to using a saturation mail program from a terminology perspective as well. Many times when we look at creating a list of saturation, it's based on a zip code or what we refer to as a carrier route. And when you break down, everybody's familiar with the zip code, right? You know what your own zip code is or the zip code of your business, but there is actually logic behind a zip code that drives functions of the USPS. So if we break down an actual 5-digit zip code, what it does, for the post office, the first digit actually breaks down a national area of the US. Then if we look at the next 2 digits of a zip code, it breaks it down into what's called a sectional center facility. And basically what that does is it narrows it down to a larger city or potentially couple area that the post office supports. And when we get down to the last 2 digits of your zip code, what that does is it targets it down to your specific local post office. So that you can use that in trivia the next time you're having a conversation and ask people if they know what the zip code, the numbers of a zip code represent. So may not wanted to know, but that is the reason that zip codes are important, because it does target you down to a specific area. The other thing is when we do saturation, counts are typically provided by what we refer to as a carrier route. The carrier route actually identifies a specific postal delivery or area by postal carrier. Typically, most routes on average contain about 300 delivery addresses on average. And there's different types of routes, but the reason it's important to go to the carrier route level is because you're determining which addresses are to be delivered by a specific postal carrier. So when we look at saturation, a lot of times we'll say, what zip codes do you want to mail to and which carrier routes? And we'll provide information back to you based on that criteria. There are some other options which we'll get into, but that's just, again, some little fun facts about the details of postal zips and carrier routes. Some other information to, again, better understand saturation mail. You actually have to meet certain requirements to qualify for a saturation mailing to receive those discounted postal rates. There's 3 levels of saturation, and the most finite level of saturation, we refer to that as full saturation, where you receive the biggest discount on postage. To meet that, what is required is that there's called the 90-75 rule. And that means that you have to mail to 90% of all residential addresses within a particular zip code and carrier route. Or if you're choosing to mail to both residential and business addresses, you only have to mail to 75%. Typically with your program, we are mailing the 90% and only mailing to residential addresses. And again, this ties back to understanding typically saturation is dealt with at a zip code and carrier route. There's also a high density plus, that's the next level down. And to meet that, you have to mail to 300 pieces or more of the same zip code and carrier route. And high density, you have to mail to 125 pieces or more to the same zip code and carrier route. And if you fall outside of that, it goes to what's referred to as carrier basic. And it's still okay, and you may have some that fall at that, but it is a higher postal rate, which we'll talk about. So once you've met those rules, the other thing is to mail individuals at a saturation level. The file has to either have what's referred to as a walk sequence code or bin delivery sequence file certified. What that code does, and the importance of it, is, as I mentioned, within a particular route, the carrier a particular carrier will deliver to all the homes within that route. What that walk sequence code identifies for the carrier, he has a particular order that he walks his route and delivers mail. That walk sequence puts the mail for him in that order that he walks his route. So when he gets a bundle of catalogs or the direct mail pieces, he does not have to sort them in any way. They're already sorted in the order that he walks his route. So he grabs his bundle and he knows that every address is going to get a piece within his route. And that is something that, again, with the saturation, we do all of that. So you don't have to worry about that, but just, again, a little information and insight as to the saturation mail program. The other unique thing about saturation mail compared to other types of mailing lists or programs is you do not need a name on the mail piece. And the reason for that is, again, because you're typically saturating the addresses within zip codes and routes. So the Postal Service has said, you know what, as long as you have the address component on there, you can just have a generic postal customer on the address label. You can choose to do names. Typically in this program, we just mail to the address. So many people will say, well, saturation, you're not targeting, you are not, it's just a mass mailing, it doesn't work. That's kind of an old logic. You can still achieve the benefit of mailing at saturation postal rates and doing a saturation mailing while doing targeting. And by targeting, what that means is if you understand and know who your customers are, you can choose which zip codes and routes to mail to based on things like demographics, whether age, gender, income, ethnicity, lifestyle, things that might, again, target that overall area that you're mailing to based on your customer and who's going to currently purchase from you. Typically in this program, most people read and like books, so we don't usually apply a lot of these different selects, but just know that those are available. And you will see some of that information on reports that we provide to you. So again, we are looking at demographics at a particular route level. So just to kind of close on the benefits of saturation mail, right? It allows you to mail to every potential customer or prospect and within an area, and you benefit with the most substantial postage savings. It's a program that allows improved customer acquisition and retention. So it's a low cost acquisition program for most mailers. And it's a way to increase your brand recognition within your community. So as I mentioned about cost savings, I just kind of want to reiterate, and postage has been, and you probably have even heard things in the news recently on the USPS and postage, but mail and distribution costs, when you mail something, it's typically over 60% of a budget for a mailer falls as postage in the distribution costs. So any way that we can help reduce that cost or that percentage, right, is going to help you as a mailer. And that, again, is another reason that we look at saturation. And to give you an example, the saturation postal rates for the mailings typically on a per piece cost are going to be about 15 cents to 17 cents. So that's typically on average what you're going to pay. If you were just to mail a different list that was not saturated, or what we refer to as walk sequence, you're going to minimally have a cost that starts at just over 25 cents. So if you look at that, it's a savings of 8 cents per piece. And depending on your mail quantity, that does tend to add up, can be some significant savings. So that's another reason that we really look at the benefit of saturation, is because how it affects the overall mailing budget. Any questions up to this point, or do we want to save them to the end, Suzanne?
I don't mind if you'd like to take questions, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought if there's any questions on, general USPS, I'm going to go into kind of the program options for saturation and how we'll work with you on the saturation list. So I just want to do kind of a quick pause here and see if there's any specific questions.
If you have any questions, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Yep. If not, you can always, I think, do a chat and we'll answer them at the end. Okay, we'll keep going. So with the program that they're providing to you, there's really 3 options. If you have your own store customer list that you just want to mail to, that's an option. We would receive that and mail to that. I will note one caveat with that is you have to have at least 200 customers on that mailing list in order for us to process that list from a postal perspective. If you choose to participate in the saturation mail list, again, you can just mail using a saturation list. And what will happen is you can choose specific zip and routes or do a radius select around your store. And And just note that if you do have customers that are in that area, they would be mailed to through the use of this list because you are mailing to all addresses within those zip code and routes. The third option is you could use your customer list and then combine or add, enhance with a saturation list rental. And we would bring those together, eliminate any duplicates, and then again, make sure that you're achieving saturation rate where applicable on your customer list as well. So how we have worked with this in the past is that if you're looking to choose a saturation mail list option, Suzanne, Ashley, and myself will assist you with understanding where to mail to and what's available. Some of you may be very familiar with the area and have specific criteria, know which zips and routes you may want to mail to, and you would provide that to us. If not, we will most likely do a radius around your store as a starting point, and then provide you counts back along with the map for you to then narrow down that select based on the quantity and where you want to mail to. So again, it kind of goes into how much you know about the area that your location is in and your current customers. And if not, we will guide you with the information. Again, you'll get back, what you'll see here is you will get back a count report that's provided by zip code and route. It'll give you this state and city. And what we provide back, it's this SFDU, it's single family dwelling units. And what that represents is basically homes, okay? Single family dwelling units. It'll also identify if there's any apartments, and that's a multi-family dwelling unit. So in this particular route of 60091 carrier route 1, there's a total of 255 residential deliveries. And this, it gives you the range of the home value, the age, and the average age is 57. So you'll get this report as well as then a potential map that goes along with that for you to finalize your criteria.
Kathy?
Yep.
We have a question in the chat.
Okay.
It says, can you talk a little bit about stores who might want to use a house list to target existing customers and saturation for prospecting new customers?
Sure. So what we would do is, again, you would send us your customer list, and from prospecting to enhance that customer list, it'd be a similar process. You could provide us with particular zip codes and routes that you want to initially target or look at, or we can do a radius. We would provide back a count report in the map. And then once you've determined what areas of prospects that you want to mail to, we would pull that list. And then in our processing, we would combine your customer list and your prospect list. Now there will be some records that most likely will overlap and drop out. So as an example, if your customer list is in zip code, you have customers in zip code 12345 carrier out 1, and you choose that same geographic information in the prospect list, we're going to make sure that we don't mail multiple copies to the same customers in that area. So based on that too, the quantity of your customer, you have to figure in the quantity of your customer list as well as the quantity of that prospect list. There's going to be a small percentage of overlap of records that will drop. So when you're looking and saying what your final quantity is that you want to mail, we'll want to make sure that we're ordering a prospect list that is slightly above that final quantity. Does that answer the question, or is there further information?
From my perspective, you answered the question. And then are there other questions that people would like to raise, either by unmuting or putting a note in the chat?
I actually have a question. This is Casey from Innisfree Bookshop in Meredith, New Hampshire. And we're in the Lakes region in the middle, and we're lucky enough to have much smaller independent bookstore that's like one town over, but we share a lot of the same customers. So I guess I'm wondering if we would be able to know whether or not they're also participating in the program, so that we don't like bump into their zip code search or whatever that means.
Sure. So if we know what the bookstore is, so I think we'd have to coordinate with Suzanne and Ashley to, you'd have to provide that information of that other bookstore. We would verify if we are mailing that. Now, when we bring all the bookstore mailing and lists together, what we do is we don't always dupe out between the stores, because again, that proximity, you may have overlapping customers. If there is a requirement where you do have another store and you want to make sure that we're not overlapping based on zips and routes, we can definitely put that in the criteria when we do the processing and the duplication. But typically we don't. So we would just need to know up front what that store is, confirm if that was, we are also mailing that, and then we would look at the geographic area of both mailings and communicate back with you where there's the overlap. And then
Perfect.
have the decision of how you want to handle that.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Casey, on the order form, there's a place where you can write us at RAMP a note.
Okay.
So you can add a comment in there, and we'll see that to know that, you would like us to be aware and would like some information about whether there's delivery going on in your area from any other store. Just FYI, last year we had 371 stores participating across the RAMP regions in the catalog, and we had 2 who overlapped in their saturation. And so as it turned out last year, we let both of them know that this was how it was playing out, and gave them the opportunity to choose how they would like to handle that. If they wanted to go ahead, if they wanted to change their zip codes, if they wanted to reroute. And so they had the ultimate decision-making authority over what we did. And they actually both chose to send their own catalogs into that area via saturation.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Great question.
Any other questions? Okay. I think I'm going to take that as a no. Well,
Okay.
really, as I mentioned, really looking forward to working with you guys this year, and looking forward to another successful campaign.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Suzanne and Ashley always have my contact information. So if we need to get, involved to answer more questions, we're more than happy to help. So
I think we will stay on now, Kathy, and I think you're heading out. So we need to stop sharing your screen.
Yep. There we go.
Great. Hi, thank you again. I appreciate it. And then
Absolutely.
If there are other questions relative to direct mail or the catalog program in other areas, whether it's newspaper insertions or imprint orders or the order form online, we're open for questions on other topics. And it's fun to see so many of you because I only ever see your names. So thank you for showing your faces.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hi.
Have we seen the final cover yet?
No, we just got word yesterday of what the book will be. So I can tell you the book is called The Littlest Yak, and it is published by Peachtree. And you can get a sneak peek of the art by looking at the book. Inside, there's an illustration of a little yak on top of a big stack of books. So for those who were in NAIBA, GLIBA, or NEIBA in 2017, the same artist did, the same illustrator did that cover. It was the book You Must Bring a Hat. And so this is a different publisher, but the same illustrator, and we're super excited about it.
Suzanne, can you tell us when we'll be invoiced and how long we have to pay the bill, that sort of thing?
Good question. Ashley can probably chime in here if I misspeak. I've had so many different dates in my head for different deadlines, but orders are due July 31st. And so our goal is to turn around invoices within a week of that. And payment, I believe we had noted that payment is due by August 31st. And just FYI, when you get an invoice for anything related to the catalog, the invoice comes from Lark LLC. Excuse me, and that's a legitimate company. That's my business. So it doesn't come from RAMP, but that's what the invoice is for, the RAMP catalogs. Other questions? How are the order forms coming along? Have people gotten online, rampbooks.com? Are you working your way through that process?
Suzanne, I'm going to pull a question quick, just that's in the chat. The question was, are the rates the same as last year or have they gone up?
Nope, rates are the same. We like to hold rates intact as long as we possibly can. So the imprint rate is $150. That's a fee that has been the same for the longest time for many people. And that's because the printer has to change out part of their equipment to print your store's information on the catalog. So we are basically being charged $150 from the printer to do that. And so we pass that along just at cost to you. If you need design services for your imprinting, that is $50, or you can reuse your art from 2020. If you do reuse your art from 2020 and you have a minuscule change, like a date change on a coupon, we will not charge you $50. If you need to have your 2020 art redesigned, then we do have to hire a designer to do that work. And so we charge $50, which is still a great deal because he winds up spending more than 1 hour on your piece. And that's close to his hourly rate. Saturation mail, the price to mail things is 20 cents per piece. And so you heard Kathy talking about the price for saturation postage being between 14 and 17 cents. And so perhaps you're wondering, well, why are those extra cents in there? And that's because we have to pay to rent the mailing list that then you are using for all of your zips and routes and customers that you wind up sending to, and that is not inexpensive. So that's the actual cost of that. Catalogs are free up to 12,500 copies. So that's the best part of the program. I should have started with that. So you can order up to 12,500 catalogs for free and have them sent wherever you like. There's no freight. Everything is free freight. You don't have to pay shipping charges. If you would like more catalogs than 12,500 and you want them to be sent to your store, those come to you in boxes of 500 and they cost $55 a box. And so that's the actual cost of the printed piece in that box, printed pieces. And if you, let's say you wanted to do 15,500 catalogs through saturation mail. So your first 12,500 would be free. And then in terms of the actual catalog, the postage on all 15,500 is 20 cents a piece. And then you would pay 11 cents a piece for those 3,000 additional copies that are not free because you've hit your limit of 12,500. So we are happy to give you estimates. We've tried to build the order form online so that it creates an estimate as you go. So you can put in different scenarios and it will give you different pricing estimates based on what you've told it. But if you want to talk to a human about it, we're available for that too, so that you know upfront what's going on. And if you do decide to do direct mail, as you could surmise from what Kathy said, there's all this back and forth that happens. And we do it in a combination of email and phone call. And actually talking with you live is usually our best chance for getting to a solution efficiently. It takes some time for you to give us an idea of what you're interested in from saturation mail standpoint. Maybe, you know, I want to send out, you know, like 5,000 catalogs, or maybe, you know, I want to spend $1,500. I mean, you can start with either end of that and put that in. You'll have a chance in your order form to make a note of that. And then Ashley will see that note and see your original thoughts and get back to you and talk about zip codes and what's your area and what are you interested in. And so then Ashley goes back to Quad, to a person there with your information, just yours specifically. They then pull the data for your particular request and they send it back to Ashley, who sends it to you, and you go over it. And so it's a very customized process, and it just takes a little bit of time. It's not that it takes a lot of your time, but it takes a few days and a couple weeks in the end to go back and forth to get you the information you need so that you can make a final decision by July 31st. That's why we ask you to start that by July 15th. Other questions? I do not know the response rate for mailings. What percentage actually result in a sale? I don't know that because we don't track sales at the store level or the title level. Yeah, I don't have a good answer to that question.
Can you hear me?
If there are stores who have done that tracking and would want to share that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I was going to suggest if there's anybody that had success last year to jump in, that would be great. I can say, speaking from when I was at Anderson's and we would do saturation mailing, we tried to at least double or triple what we spent, and that was usually the case. We were able to do that every time that we did a saturation or direct mailing. So I guess some statistic we used.
Other burning catalog questions?
Hey, this is Leslie again. I have a really dumb question. I'm on the rentbooks.com, and I guess even though I did this last year, but I guess it doesn't recognize my email.
It's different. No, it's a new system. You're not crazy.
Okay, well, I can't figure out where to get a new account. I see where to sign in, but it says, no, you don't have an account, but doesn't tell me where to. Is it right in front of me? I swear I've gone through this whole thing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give you a call and we can walk through it.
Okay.
Yeah. Tell me the name of your store.
Yeah, I just don't see it there. It's Leslie at Francie and Finch. And I'm on my, I'll shoot you an email with my cell phone or.
Perfect.
Okay. Suzanne.
Yeah, the order form is a little tricky. In fact, what I can do is share my screen. I don't want to walk everybody through if they're having an okay time using it. Generally, are there other questions about the order form? If you have some, just email me and we will set up a call to talk you through. And I've done that with several people. It happens. It's a kind of confusing because there's just so much information that we need that is unique to your specific store. So, anything else? Well, Larry, I don't have anything else if you don't.
No, I don't.
Great. Well, I think you know where to find my team, and all of your associations know how to connect you with the RAMP team as well. So we're super excited to have you participate in the programs this year. One thing I want to mention is emails, the winter emails. Please sign up for those so that you can connect people to your e-commerce platforms and send catalog emails this winter too, which is a way to double your investment without spending any money. So thanks so much, everyone.